here's where we are here between Gerard Fabiano, number 6 on our Season 3 leaderboard, and JD Neer playing Infect. We watched JD top 8 when we were Worcester a little bit ago. Gerard did win that Standard Open, and Dan Jordan won that Legacy Open. Neer sitting at 3-1, as is Fabiano. So we will watch these two do battle.
So a lot of this has to do with how much action does Gerard have in the sideboard for this matchup. Not a ton. 2 copies of Disfigure, 2 copies of Golgari Charm. A Pithy Needle is fine here, as is an answer to Eighth Moth Nexus, but he's not really loaded with the best action for this matchup.
They've split the first 2. Neer was on the play for game number 3, so Fabiano is going to play Misty Rainforest, sacrifice that, go down to 19. His life total actually doesn't really matter all that much. They can go, normal, for lack of a better term, can the Infect deck on occasion. But Gerard kind of free-rolling his life total here as he does play a Deathrite Shaman before passing the turn back over to JD. JD will draw a card.
I think this matchup's traditionally pretty rough for Charlotte's Bug because the card Inkmoth Nexus is so hard to answer. The deck traditionally answers cheap permanents with Abrupt Decay, but Abrupt Decay can't target lands. It's hard for Charlotte's Bug to block. We're looking at basically just Baleful Strix. So this card puts Gerard on a lot of pressure. Of course, he has access to Wasteland, but only 2 in his list.
And now it's coming from 2 ways because there's a Blighted Agent on turn number 2 from JD. And I like how JD played that Blighted Agent. He could have very simply played it with Tropical Island and Inkmoth Nexus, but he elected to do it with Noble Hierarch. In case something goes wrong, he can actually use that mana over there from the Tropical Island to cast the Defiance of Vast with it in his hand.
Yep. And his Noble Hierarch is much more likely to be under duress than his Tropical Island, because if Gerard has Wasteland, he's almost certainly going after the Nexus.
Yep. JD's list looks very close to what Tom Ross has been playing recently on the Open Series circuit. Tom having a lot of success with this deck. We saw him last weekend in Dallas lose playing for top 8 against Sneak and Show, but another solid finish for Tom playing Infect.
He has been dominant with that deck.
And now here is a Charm. Very powerful against the Infect deck, as most of his creatures have 1 toughness.
But
Gerard
still
casting this right away in the main phase.
But still no answer to the Nexus.
Not yet. This will be an Invigorate here by JD. And if this is the way he's using Invigorate, defensively, not offensively, you got to be pretty happy for Fabiano.
This is a win for Gerard, absolutely.
Well, Fabiano's going to consult his hand. He wants to take a look at Invigorate. I think we'll do the same. Because oddly enough, one interesting thing did happen as Force Will looks like it's going to target Invigorate, removing Ancestral Visions. On Invigorate, it says only if you control Forest can you play it for free. So we watched Tom Ross actually get Blood Moon, and he couldn't cast an Invigorate in the game we watched him play last weekend. So again, if you control Forest, rather than paying the Invigorate's mana cost, you got to opponent gain 3 life, and then a creature gets +4/+4.
Blood Moon seems awesome against this deck.
It was really good.
You have no forests, and your Pendlehaven and your Nexus is shut down.
Yep.
That's quite a bit.
It was really freaking good against Tom.
Blood Moon into Pyroclasm feels like it's almost impossible to beat.
And had Tom been able to cast Invigorate, he actually would have been able to win pretty easily. This looks like a second Nexus, maybe?
Yeah, JD right now debating between second Nexus and Pendlehaven. If he's pondering right now, I imagine that means he's locked into playing the Nexus, because the Pendlehaven does no work for him this turn, but playing the Inkmoth Nexus this turn means it's freed up as an attacker next turn.
Saw Fabiano win the war of the Invigorate with the Forcible removing Ancestral Vision, so JD just has to do a little bit of rebuilding. And we're going to fire up the Nexus and get in for 1 here. So 1 Infect, as Fabiano does draw a card for the turn.
Again, the Nexus is the hardest card in this matchup for Gerard to answer.
Absolutely.
Liliana on the Veil, nothing. Abrupt Decay, nothing. Though Baleful Strix is quite good here.
No, it's not so bad.
Two copies in Gerard's list.
Fabiano going to remove a card from the graveyard here. Play a Swamp and play a Tarmogoyf now. So now Gerard's found his clock, and that's important.
Can't wait all day.
We'll get the size of that Tarmogoyf out there for you guys in just a moment. You see Gerard taking a look at JD's graveyard, make sure he knows the size of that bad boy.
Gerard with 2 copies of Obstinate Baloth in his sideboard, which
Really?
is pretty awesome.
Pretty good against the old Liliana, as it were.
Definitely good against Burn.
Ooh, that's true.
Just one of Charlotte's Bug's tougher matchups, in my opinion.
I don't know if Charlotte's Bug can really beat Burn.
It's tough. Hindatorax is very good against Burn.
Yeah.
You have that. You can have some fast Tarmogoyf draws, but it's not a good matchup.
So Pendelhaven comes down there for near.
Gerard finding room for some basics in his list is also pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's got a couple hiding out in there. You see the Swamp in play. He's also got a Forest as well. Makes his deck a little bit more robust against Blood Moon, but Blood Moon's still a very hard card for him to beat, as he's going to fire for Thoughtseize here. JD is going to show a hand of Crop Rotation, Ponder, and Vines of the Vastwood. Tarmogoyf currently sitting at a 4-5.
I mean, Gerard has a pretty straightforward game plan at this point of attack with Tarmogoyf, shoot with Death Red Shaman, leave the Strix back on defense. At this stage, not surprised me to see Gerard take something like Vines.
Yeah, I think you can safely ignore Crop Rotation. As far as Crop Rotation lands, there's Pendelhaven. Actually, 2 copies of JD's deck list. He's already got 1 in play, excuse me. There's a legendary land. There's only 1 Wasteland, and there's some value lands on the sideboard there, Pachuca Bog and Caracas. And even if Gerard were to get bogged here, for example, that's not the end of the world. Seems like a mere annoyance.
Yeah. And it seems like a big cost at this point for JD to use his resources doing something like getting a Pachuca Bog. Because he either loses the Pendelhaven, one of his nexuses, or his only Forest in play, which he needs for Invigorate.
So looks like Tarmogoyf's ready to battle. In for 4, it'll come.
And I do like taking the Vines. That was my instinct as well. It's pretty hard to imagine Gerard losing without JD finding a critical mass of pump spells very soon.
JD's going to cast Crop Rotation. See what he's going to go get here. He's just going to go get another Tropical Item. This is certainly within his deck.
This is not the most impressive crop rotation I've ever seen in my life.
I've seen better in my days on the Open Series. I will say that.
Basically casting it as extract myself.
Yeah. JD going to draw a card here. Looks like he picked up a Brainstorm, so he will cast that. Fabiano says that's fine. So 3 cards coming here for Near to go along with the Ponder in his hand. He'll have to put 2 back in just a moment. The card that's really made things difficult here for Near is definitely the Baleful Strix.
Yeah. Again, 2 copies in Gerard's list and a pretty valuable source of defense in this matchup.
It has slowed him to a halt. There's another Trop off the fetch land, making it a perfect Brainstorm.
In fact,
JD left for the Ponder.
in fact, can definitely play over the top of this card. Berserk especially was to trample over, but JD has not been able to find that. And his pump spells have been taxed on other things. Invigorate was used to try to save a Blighted Agent. Gerard Thoughtseize away Vines. And so JD really struggled to assemble the critical mass he needs.
Yeah, I think now, though, if you're Near, is you have to, get to work here. So I think, after he resolves his Ponder, depending on what he looks at, I think it's time to fire up one of these Nexuses and trade with this Baleful Strix, or at least offer it up.
Yeah, I think he's got to send an attack.
Obviously, a trade will take place because Baleful Strix has Death Touch, but you gotta do something here.
Yeah, there's a small argument for erring on the side of waiting because blocking with the Strix means that now an artifact is going to the graveyard, which makes the Goyf slightly larger. But I think that JD needs to do the sequence of, attack with the Nexus, trade with the Strix, untap, and now I'm freed up to do something.
At least start attacking and then, Pendelhavening it, and start getting some effect on your opponent.
Yeah, the problem is that I think JD is going to die very fast here. I mean, this is going to be an attack to 7. Deathright's now knocking him to 5. And then
lethal. Tarmogoyf doesn't take long.
And this is to say nothing of the cards in Gerard's hand. I mean, he may have additional disruption or protection available to him.
Yeah, Fabiano doing a nice job of holding his hand, not giving me any information to us, to you guys at home, or to JD. Here's an attack for 5 from Fabiano. Near's going to go down to 7. Fabiano's going to pass the turn back. So Near will draw a card. He just passes the turn back. Fabiano's going to activate. A little surprising to get the no attack that turn.
Well, I think JD may just be chump blocking, which is pretty close to a concession at this point, as JD cannot crop rotate for another Nexus. So if he's in the Abyss, then that's that.
I mean, could be a defensive, something defensive like this, defensive pump spell. It turns this creature into a 5/5. And what this does is actually shrinks Tarmogoyf, because Tarmogoyf have 5 infect counters on it.
Yeah, but a 5/5 is not enough to save the Nexus here.
Oh, no, this is true. This just makes sure that JD doesn't die to the Tarmogoyf, but then he just ends up dying to the Deathray Shaman.
Yeah, JD needs to draw a creature and have Gerard not have anything on the follow-up. No removal spell, no creature of his own, nothing.
Yep.
But he does get to play on, I suppose.
Fabiano's a replacement Tarmogoyf, and that is going to get an extension of the hand. Gerard Fabiano is going to win this match over JD Near. A big win for him with Shardless Bug over Infect. Number 6 on our Season 3 leaderboard is still in it to make top 8 tonight.
And Gerard's definitely had a much better run in recent months in Standard than in Legacy. Kind of bounces around from deck to deck to